Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to Rewind and Reflect. I'm having a moment today. Let me start over. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rewind and Reflect, where we believe in the universal truth that nothing happens by coincidence or mistake. And we are here to share our life stories on that with you. My name is Deb Miller, I think.
Oh my God. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Doyle. Debbie, how many weeks in a year?
Oh my God. I just found out today that there's 52, not 53 weeks in a year. This is how our conversation started this morning. And I go, oh no, this is
So if
going to be
I
one of
keep
those
clearing
days.
my throat throughout this whole podcast, it's because I was laughing so hard
Oh
when the
my
camera
God.
was off as we were discussing our stellar,
Mm,
stellar public school education, where we have somehow forgotten
how
that
many
there's
weeks in the
52
year?
weeks in the year.
Yes.
Yeah, so the reason why we were
Shout out
talking
to
about that is
Avon.
because
Shout out to Avon High School or public
Whoop,
school.
whoop. Oh yeah. Oh my God. But the reason why we were talking about 52 weeks in a year is we're coming up on our year anniversary.
I know. It's
How
I can't even believe
exciting.
it. We
I
did
know.
it. We managed to get an episode every week on for a year without skipping a beat. And I will tell you that a lot went down this past year that could have caused hiccups in us getting that weekly, hitting that weekly, but
Yeah.
we did it. We made
Yeah.
it. We got through it.
Let's just say this. You and I,
Mm,
who are apparently, according to you, a little past middle-aged,
hmm
figured out how to record,
mm,
put music on,
hmm
record to the cloud so it doesn't take up space on our computers,
hmm
put it on YouTube,
mm.
and then share it out to Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts all by ourselves.
All by ourselves. Yes. Yes, indeed. Now, we were able to do all that, and yet I'm still having difficulty getting words and numbers out properly.
Okay, well, I mean, listen, Rome wasn't built in a year, sister.
No.
Let's just remind ourselves that within those 53 weeks this year,
Yes. Well,
we were
the
able to
50,
figure out a whole bunch of shit.
I think I maybe added an intentional week on that because I need some time. But I will
Mm,
tell you what happened was
mm,
as we were recording, a text popped up on my computer, which I'm not used to that happening. I just recently got an Apple phone. So now everything
mm-hmm.
that happens on my Apple phone happens on my Apple computer. And
So
so
it
when I
chases you.
saw it pop up, I was like, immediately you just go and look at it like
Mm-hmm.
and I was in the middle of saying something, so I got all sorts of distracted because I can't do more than one thing at a time. So I apologize for that. But
Don't apologize.
I have some exciting news. We love having guests on this podcast, and we've had a few. I think we've had like maybe 4 or 5. Kristen's been on a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll count her
And then
as a
other
couple.
Kristen.
Yes, Kristen. We had Lexi.
Oh my goodness, yes, the sweet
Yeah,
little thing.
yes. And everybody comes with these stories of remarkable the gifts that they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the ability that they have to get through life, which has been dealt to them not so great, kind of unfairly, but how they really come together and figure it out and inspire others to live their best life. We've had all of our guests share their unique stories. So I I actually got an email a few weeks ago from a woman who is here in Sarasota. Her name is Laura Ellis, and she is the founder of Transitions Liaison. And what she does is she does a lot of hypnosis for healing and past life regression, and she does future life progression, which I find to be
Okay.
fascinating. And all of this kind of stemmed from her having she was in a terrible, terrible, I think it was a motorcycle accident. And she had a near-death experience. And again, this is another survival story. After she came out of the coma she was in, she's going to get more into her story next week. But she had developed kind of these gifts. And so she's going to talk to us about her near-death experience and what that entailed and what gifts came out of that experience, which I love all things of the afterworld. Like I love.
Well, you've kind of done that a little bit, right? I mean, you told a story a while back about um you did that in one of these workshops, I think. I don't know if you shared it on air, but you shared it with me.
What a
Um
near death experience?
no, like a
What?
past life regression type of
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
exercise
I
on
have
more
done
than one
that.
occasion.
Hmm. Yes, indeed. I
Um
did with Dr. Brian Weiss. I went to one of his seminars at Omega.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've
Yes,
been
yes,
doing a
yes.
lot of reading about it. It's fascinating. Many Lives, Many Masters is a book that I highly recommend to people. Um, and past life regression, I do feel has an amazing um, healing attribute to it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I also am so fascinated by near-death experiences. What do you know about near-death experiences, and what do you think about near-death experiences?
Not a lot. I mean, I don't believe that I have had, I mean, I have never had one. It's
You've never
interesting.
you've
I
never
mean,
died
well, like I've
and
never
then
been
come
in a bad
back.
accident. I've never had a
Yeah,
bad like a
right.
disease or something that brought me like to the brink of
Hmm.
whatever, you know what I'm
You would know.
saying? I do, I recently listened to the Jeremy Renner book,
Oh yeah, I just read that. Yeah.
um, where, and there was another either book or podcast I listened to that, you know, from, they both talk about being drawn to something,
Mhm.
like they're trying to be pulled into this other either realm or life, and they're resistant to it. So I don't know if that would be considered like a near death experience or not. But neither, you know, these two people that I've recently listened to, neither one of them was scared to go, but they knew they weren't ready to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, it was Madonna.
Madonna
It
had a
was
near death?
Madonna. During that podcast with Jay Shetty, she talked about having this really bad infection, like she had an operation or something, or she had a really bad
Oh,
infection in her hip, and it was like, you know, she had this experience that her
yes.
mother was saying to her, "Are
Right. I
you,
do
you know,
remember.
I'm ready for you." Like, and she was like, "I'm not, you know, I'm
Yeah.
not ready yet," and she was pulled back
Right.
to
Right.
this life.
Yes. I
How about you?
okay, so I've never had one. I would like to have one. Not that I want to die, but I would like to have a near-death experience. But okay, so I completely believe that there's an afterlife. I completely believe that, when we die, we do go back to source, God, whatever that is. And I did a lot of research into near-death experiences when Hunter was sick because I was, pretty terrified that he was not going to survive, even though instinctually I knew he was. But, you always, when a lot of people around you are passing away, like
Hmm.
I felt like, okay, I need to know what happened. So I did a ton of research on near-death experiences. I read a lot of Raymond Moody's books, and basically everybody who had near-death experiences that I learned about had could recall very similar experiences, which is yes, they're engulfed by a bright light with such immense feeling of love and acceptance and just pure beauty. And so that gave me a lot of peace. I was like, okay, wherever you go when you pass away is a place of love. Um, they talk a lot about the different music that you hear, that you almost hear music through color instead of sound. It's like, it's just, to me, it just made me feel so comfortable. And so I was fascinated by it, just absolutely fascinated.
So do you believe that there's a hell? Like, do
Um,
you believe that there's like levels of
no,
afterlife, meaning like bad people go? Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I
I do
think
not
there's,
believe that.
and I think that comes from my Jewish religion training or upbringing. I shouldn't say training because I didn't pay attention, but upbringing
Yeah,
where, Jews believe that there's good in everybody, that they
yeah.
don't, there's not a heaven or a hell. There's just everybody sort of goes to this other place
Well, my
that's
my
good.
belief, yeah, my belief is that I do believe in reincarnation and I do believe in karma. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I do believe in a life review. So when you cross over, you have a life review, um, where you actually feel the feelings that you made somebody else feel, whether they're good or bad or indifferent, right? So that kind of, while you're walking this earth, remember that, because a harmful thing that you can say to somebody, you're going to relive that and feel the feeling that that gave that person. And that's, I, I, I just don't want to know that I hurt somebody that badly. Right. So,
Yeah.
and I also believe that every time we walk this earth, we are taking care of things that we didn't in our past lives. So for instance, my addiction, I might have died of an overdose last in my past life. And so I came into this life, until I was able to kick that and get a handle on
Mm-hmm.
it and now my next life, I won't need to do that anymore. I'll work on
Mm-hmm.
something else that I needed to work on in this particular life. So, so that's my belief. So no, I don't believe in hell, but I do believe that that person who committed, you know, uh, atrocities really do need, they will have to come back to this earth and make up for it. Whether they're going to be the victim or they're going to end up being punished in this lifetime, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my belief. I do believe in spirit guides. I believe in angels. I believe in all of that. How about you?
I believe that there's an afterlife. I do. I don't believe that for the very, very short period of time that we're physically on this earth, that that's all there is.
Yeah, that the all
I
you're saying
just,
that that's all there is, our time here on this earth. You believe that there's more to it
more
than
than
that.
that,
Yeah, gotcha.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm not sure what. I don't, conceptually, it's hard for me to wrap my head around, like, this fluffy cloud, like we're all walking around
Mm,
looking our best, being our best, and lovey-dovey when there's so much, for lack of a better word, animosity and hatred and like
mhm.
here. You know what I mean? I can't believe that we're allowed to behave like this on Earth and then everything's like absolved and like and we're
Right.
all woo woo up top, right? But I'm not really sure. I don't know. I do know that there's like I think everybody has a soul.
Yes.
Um, I do believe that there are people, I'm not sure that everyone has lived a prior life. Um, but what you said kind of makes sense because I feel like there's people here now with me and you physically that have lived before. They are definitely old souls. And there's
Mhm.
people here that I'm like, I continue to scratch my head saying like, have you learned nothing? like from nothing, like, so maybe they're here for the first time, who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but I am a firm believer that, we all have a higher purpose. Um, and I think if we don't live into it the first time, we do have an opportunity to live into it, other times.
Yeah.
Um, I also believe that, the presence of people who have passed are still with us.
Mm.
How, I'm not really sure, but, you know, it's kind of comforting to let's just say like be at Thanksgiving or have like a family milestone where I can say, my dad is still here. Like he
Yeah.
can still feel this. He can still see the goodness.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm
Yeah.
not sure how. I don't know if it's like an energy that's floating around or he's actually watching
Yeah.
from someplace else. I don't know. I am definitely still in inquiry of all of that.
Yeah. I believe it's energetic, that the soul and the spirit of somebody who has passed is with us through energy.
Hmm.
So, because, you know, it's funny that this is coming up because I was watching the news this morning. Did you hear how Tom Brady cloned his dog? I can't
Well,
believe that.
I mean, if Tom Brady could clone himself, then that's a whole different
Yes.
story.
Well,
But
but
it's funny because I think I heard like I was going to bed last night and I was not like the TV was on
yeah,
like
yeah,
while I was getting my stuff together and doing all my things. And like I kind of heard something
yeah,
about Tom Brady and something, but I wasn't, normally when I hear Tom Brady's name, I'm like, I perk
yeah.
up.
What's that? Yeah.
Where is he? Where is he?
Well,
But I wasn't really, I guess, interested or paying attention or whatever.
he cloned his dog. I guess he's an investor in this cloning, place. And for $50,000, you can clone your dog. Now, Barbara
Oh my God,
Streisand also did this.
do not tell my husband that because he will most likely clone our dog.
Well, but here's the thing, and Barbara Streisand nailed it on the head. She goes, "Listen, the dog looks the same, but they have a different soul." So the reason why you'd want
Agree.
to clone your dog is most likely for the dog's personality,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it could be a beautiful animal, but what you want is that the dog, the personality. So you can't clone that because it's a spirit. So
Right. Right.
me,
It's
it's
an
like
energy. Well, didn't they
exactly.
clone a sheep back in the day, like
Oh
when we
yeah,
were in
way,
high
way,
school
way.
or
Yeah,
college?
yeah. I think
Whatever happened to that sheep?
I don't know. I don't know what happened to that sheep, that sheep. I don't know,
It might be the sweater that I'm wearing. Who
yes,
knows?
you just never know.
You never know.
I want to say her name is like Polly or something. I don't know, but
Something like that.
yeah. But they cloned us, so they can clone things now. Like this is a company that you can pay 50 grand and they'll clone your dog. But again, you're gonna get the same look and appearance, but not the same personality because it's a whole different soul. So,
Don't you think that's kind of the same with like the ever surging of AI is they
oh,
can
for sure.
basically
Yeah.
clone
Yeah.
the work and the looks and the physicality of something, but all the people that I choose to talk to and listen to and refer to as experts in the field of being human,
Hmm.
is there's no connection, there's no connectedness, there's
Hmm.
no community, there's no you're being ever isolated. You're being, we're being pushed farther and farther and farther apart, where everything may look the same, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so you know, so sort of looping back to the afterlife is like, I do believe that there's this energetic connection,
Yeah.
even if the person is not physically here.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't know how. And maybe it's not even for me to figure out. I just have to sort of have faith that that's how it is.
Right. Another example is when people gather together and pray. Okay. And if everybody's
Mm-hmm.
praying for the same thing, that energy that they are putting out into the world for that specific thing to happen, that's energy that they are putting out there. And that
I
energy
agree.
makes things happen.
I agree.
So, I want to touch back on AI for just 1 second because I use a lot of AI in my work now and in my work for the nonprofits. So I'm torn about AI because as a writer, I don't think it's right that people use it to write things. You know, you need to be creative on your own. But for working together, putting emails together and things like that, it can be a huge tool. Well, AI is so crazily advanced right now that AI has picked up on my personality and the way I speak and the way I write, and they then will formulate an email with my tendencies in it, right? So they know that I'm more like into I'm more emotionally advanced, you know, so I tend to cling on to emotions rather than data, you know, so they always were writing things on my behalf for data. If I said to them, write an email that speaks to Jeff Bezos, let's just say, okay,
Hmm.
they know his personality enough that they know what he would want to read and how he would want to read it, that they would put that together from me to him with all of the knowing that he, you know, whatever kind of personality he
Right.
is.
Okay.
It's insane. I mean, no, it's not going to connect human to human, but it has the ability to really pick up on your cues, and it just scares the
Okay,
shit out of me.
well, it does to me too, but
Yeah.
and now we sound way older than we are. But what I mean, but so what's the point? So now you're delivering information exactly the way somebody wants to hear it. I mean,
Right.
that's not real life. Like we get delivered information constantly that is not nuanced to who, you know, exactly the way I need to hear it for it to land. And that's what is so wonderful about being a human being. You know, it's interpreted differently. It's, you know, you have to adjust. I mean, so you know, as a
I
working
know.
person
Yeah.
or a person, you know, like let's just take my classes for example. Not all 40 people in my class are going to interpret the information the way that it's intended based on my tone, or they need to hear it a certain way, or they need to see it written, or, you know, but they still keep coming because it's like their responsibility. They want the information, it's their responsibility to digest it. Like I can't hold myself responsible for people's digestion of my point.
Right. But if I'm connecting with somebody who's very type A, who is very intellectually engaged, and they want me to get to the point. I want numbers. I want you to get to the point. I want more than, you know, a sentence or a paragraph. That's very hard for me to do because being emotionally intelligent, I want to explain all the whys. You know, I want to
Okay,
explain,
but what happens when you speak to them? So you no longer are,
oh,
you know, they're like, this girl's great, you know, and so they want now a phone call or an
yeah,
in-person meeting, and you don't have AI, chat GPT, or whatever the fuck it's called,
yeah, Yeah.
nuancing your words, wordsmithing your sentences and your paragraphs, and they have, you don't have, anybody changing the tone
Yeah.
of the information for the recipient. Then what do you do?
It's not necessarily the tone, it's more of how the information is sent to them. And but I used to work for this guy who was 98% type A. Like he had zero, he could not relate to anybody personally on any kind of level. And it drove him crazy that I was who I was. I was really good at my job because it's building relationships, and that means
Mm-hmm.
getting with people and getting to know them. He wanted nothing to do with that. He wanted the end results, he wanted the numbers, he wanted the graphs, he wanted this, he wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
And it would drive him crazy because and this was before AI, like, and because we just could never find a way to communicate with each other properly. Um, but I would know if I needed to have a meeting with him to be prepared. I'd still be myself, but I'd have to be more prepared to speak his language, so to speak. And
Okay.
that's just
Yeah.
preparing for a meeting. But I can go on AI and say, tell me personality traits of XYZ, and they'll tell me what that person is like, and so how I need to communicate with them so that they hear me. Because I'll tell you right now, and I don't know if you're the same as me, but when somebody starts talking numbers, I'm just like, it does not get into my head, right? So I shut down. So that if they were to talk to me, they'd know enough to say she needs to hear things of, here's the problem, here's the solution, and this is why. And it can't be a numbers game. It has to be like how
Mm-hmm.
this is going to affect other people. And a lot of people are like that. They don't want to hear, emotional stories. They want to hear the facts. How much is it going to cost and how many people is it going to help? Period.
Right.
So it's a good tool, but it does scare me because I think a lot of people are going to be set up for crimes that they didn't commit, because they can do voiceovers and make you look
Right.
really real. Like that really
Yeah.
does scare me. But anyways, let's get back to the near-death experience and let's get back to death and dying. So,
Oh.
um, you know, a couple things have happened in my life recently, where I've had to look at what happens to people when they die. Family members. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be,
Mm.
um, do you want to be married? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? What happens? And if we don't have this conversation with our parents or, elderly loved ones that are going to pass
Mm-hmm.
and might not have it, like that, we need to learn to open up and talk about this kind of stuff. I mean, nobody wants to
Yeah.
talk about it, but thinking about the past life, and thinking about, past life regression, and thinking about what happens after we die and all that really makes me start thinking about how I want to be remembered and what I want, to happen when I pass away. So
Mm-hmm.
we started a conversation. My parents started this conversation a while ago, a couple years ago. They said, we figured out what we want to do after we die, and we have planned the whole thing. Everything's taken care of. You guys don't have to do anything. And they've decided that they want to donate their bodies to science. So they have a university that'll come pick up their bodies, and they'll literally donate to science, and whatever's left, they'll be cremated and we'll get our parts of them. And
Then do they want that
they
what's
don't want to
left
be
to be
buried.
buried, or okay.
No,
What about like a headstone or a tombstone or whatever they call it? Do they want one of those?
no. No, they
Mhm.
don't. And that's okay, because I would understand it if we were still living in the town where we grew up and we were raised and we
Yeah.
had family and da da da, but we don't. So, but what happened was my mom got very sick, and they told us to make arrangements like she was not going to survive. And all of a sudden, my dad was like, I can't do that. I can't send her body away. I just can't. I can't. I said, okay, that's no problem. We don't have to do that. I know she wants to be cremated, and so we'll go ahead and do that. And then because of all the prayers and all the things, she survived that. And they had another conversation, and my mother's like, no, we're definitely donating ourselves to science. So they're back to that. And
Hmm.
then, talking to then I have another family member who wants to be buried next to his mother, who died many, many years ago. And then another one who wants to be cremated and her ashes thrown at St. John's Island. And, everybody has their little ways of doing things. And then Kevin, of
Hmm.
course, wants to be put in one of those body pods, buried in the ground, and in hopes that he will become a tree. I don't know, something like that. And this kind of stuff happens. And
That's kind of cool though. I mean,
it
I've
is
never heard of
cool.
the body pod turning into a tree situation, but I'm sure it's some sort of composting
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
I'm not sure either. And I don't know where said tree would end up being, because, we don't really have our roots anywhere.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. Now, me, I'm gonna have life-size urns made of me, and I'm gonna have Hunter carry one around and Kevin carry one around. So wherever they live, there I'm gonna be. No, I'm just kidding.
I
I just
definitely
want
want to
to,
be cremated.
yeah,
I
I'm gonna be
definitely
cremated.
want to be cremated.
Mhm.
So it's interesting because
Have you
I
had
just
this
started.
conversation with your mom, by the way? Or because of her talk about like what happens in the Jewish faith?
Well, so yes and no. I mean, I know that she has a plot right next to my dad.
And that's in
Um,
Avon, or
that's in Avon.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because that's
So,
where, yeah, you've been for many, many years. Yeah.
it is a Jewish cemetery. Um, so in the Jewish faith, it's interesting because they don't, they believe that you should go back to the earth the way that you came. So that's really why, um, no autopsies, no elective autopsies. Obviously, if there was some shenanigans and, your loved one died or was murdered or
Mm.
something like that, or, what have you, you know, it's the super, super religious Jews are buried in a shroud and in a pine box, and they go into the ground within 24 hours. There's no embalming, there's no nothing. You
All
are
right.
delivered back to earth the same way that you came.
Okay. So this is another, another nod to Avon public education. But what's a shroud?
It's like a sheet. It's like you're not, you don't get so I remember when my ex-husband's grandmother was, very old, she just kept talking about this beautiful blue dress that she had in her closet, and that's what she wanted to be buried in. So it's really like
Okay.
it's a nod to, not doing that. A shroud
Okay.
is like you're basically wrapped in a sheet.
And then you're put in the ground in a pine box. And let me ask you this, is it still 6 feet under?
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like, doesn't that smell? Like, wouldn't a
Yeah,
decomposing
I'm not
body
sure if
smell?
anything is like, I don't know if anything is like added to the soil around to like mitigate that. I don't know.
I'd want to find that out.
6 feet down is a long way though.
It is, yeah. But I feel
It's a
like
long way.
a pine box, like that doesn't feel
Yeah.
very, I would not feel very safe in that. So anyways, but
So,
you're dead, so
what's
what does it
funny is
matter?
like as Jewish as my dad was, he was buried in a suit and he did have a beautiful, cushy,
Yeah.
lovely casket. Um, so
But you
things
said
are
that
being
that's, yeah.
relaxed
Yeah. Okay. Good.
as of, for in the interest of the environment and space being, actual Earth space being in limited
Mhm.
supply. So I do believe that there's some reformed communities that are allowing cremation and things like that. But like my dad died of, he had brain cancer. And
Mm.
so when he died, the doctor who was taking care of him, um, or was his lead physician, asked my mom if he would donate his brain for research. Or maybe it was like prior to, because my dad basically said no. He said he participated in a drug trial with Dana-Farber to
Mhm.
help mankind, so to
Yeah.
speak, or help the
Yeah.
the disease, the research of the disease.
Right.
And
So
he
that it
felt like
wasn't
that
done
was
in
his
vain.
way.
Right.
Yes, he felt like that was his way of contributing, knowing that he wouldn't donate his brain.
Hmm.
However, there are tons of Jews out there that are organ donors. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
not
I'm an
like they're
organ
not,
donor.
so
Yeah.
it's a little hazy for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do know that I would like to be cremated. I always joke it's because I like the heat, but I really do like the heat. I would not mind being incinerated. It would be finally like, it'd actually be warm for the first time in my life. Um, but
Do you want to be spread somewhere, or do you want to sit in an urn on top of a warm, cozy fireplace?
well, so then I joke with Sean that of course I want to be in an urn on like everywhere in the house. So if he brings another female into the house after I die, I will
Yeah.
have eyes on that person and force them out of my house. But in all seriousness, I haven't really thought that far, and it's interesting because we last week or 2 weeks ago started, the process of making a will.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't really, here's the thing, it doesn't really have, you really have to like be specific and write these things down and ask the lawyer to have it put in the will.
Yeah.
I think my mom, just wants to do probably what my dad did, but um, I don't know. I feel like that is, to me, that is secondary to what you touched upon is, what is the legacy that I want to leave behind for the people that are in my life?
Yeah.
The people that my kids,
Yeah.
what is the legacy that I want, my mom to see before she passes, or, my brother, or the important people in my life, like you and Darcy and Jill and Sean, and, how do, how do I want to leave that? Way more important than how I want to be buried or how I want
Yeah.
my physical container to be treated
Yeah.
after I pass away. And really it's it's I just want to leave this legacy of, I think first and foremost, I did the best I could.
Hmm.
And I was in a constant state of finding different and better ways,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I feel with my book, I feel like that's a little bit of a legacy that I'm leaving, which
Mm-hmm.
are my books, but it is I used to read obituaries, and don't ask me why, but I would always love, and this is when I was single, and it always just, when I would read an obituary and it'd say beloved wife of, and I was always like, I hope I'm somebody's beloved. I hope one day I'm
Mm-hmm.
beloved. Or, they say these things in these obituaries, and they name all of these things that these people did. And, I always felt
Well,
like,
have you ever read an obituary where it said, "Here lies so and so, he was a fucking asshole"? No, they always come up with something,
I
right?
know, I know.
So like who cares what's written? It's how did you leave these people feeling
Yeah.
that came into your life at any point in time that you were alive
Yeah.
is really how, the legacy that I would like to, I would like to have made a difference in people's lives,
Yeah. And you have, and you will continue to,
as have
you
you,
know.
but not everybody does. I mean, it's, let's go off on one little tangent here as I'm taking this class, this online yoga class, but it's more than that. It's more about inquiry and self-improvement and stuff like that. And it really is like, it starts with, what do people see when you walk into a room?
Mhm.
What do people see when you leave a room? Like what type of mark are you leaving on people, communities, and the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know?
that's a tall order though for a lot of people,
Yeah,
some
because so many people are just numbed out and they're just like, they're like those little ants marching all day, every day. They never
absolutely
stop to think,
all they're doing is
how
trying
are
to
my
survive.
actions right now affecting or inspiring
Yeah,
or thwarting other people?
that's right. That's right. And so when you're working full time and you're in the grind of it all and you want to spend your weekends, volunteering or being part of something, but you got groceries, you got to clean, you got the kids, you got this, you got obligations here and there. It's not always easy to do that. So what do? You make a point of, did I just freeze?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. You make a point of being kind to a stranger. When you're going through Dunkin'
Mm-hmm.
Donuts, pay for the people
Great.
behind you. Like just little things like that can make such a difference in somebody's day.
How about
It's
just
just,
being of service to something or someone, makes a difference in that person's life, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, I
And
know.
regardless of where you are in your journey or your chronological order of things or where you are with kids and career and all that stuff, it is really easy to, again, just leave somebody else in their power just by walking into a room,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
And it
The
doesn't
rest
have
of
to,
this stuff will come, and it doesn't really matter how you're buried or where or how you're taken care of. That will live on and on after your physical presence on this earth has gone.
yeah. I remember, raising Hunter and literally being in so much debt and just paycheck to paycheck and having zero. I constantly overdrawn in my bank account and just never could get ahead. And I was newly sober. And Christmas was coming because my anniversary is in October and Christmas was coming that year. And I didn't have any way of getting the child any gifts. I knew he would get gifts from my parents and everything, but still, as his mom, I wanted to get him something, little something. He was 5 years old. So um, I was at an AA meeting and I was very, very broken up about this. I was like, I just don't even know what to do. I was maxed out on my credit cards. I had zero in the bank. And at the end, when we all got into a circle to say the Lord's Prayer, this woman stood next to me and she took my hand, and in my hand, she put a $20 bill. She said, I know it's not a lot, but go get him something. And it was enough for me to go get him a bunch of some candy and some Matchbox cars and something that
Mm-hmm.
he could have in his stocking, and again, like he had my family who gave him gifts and everything. And as far as he knew, everything came from Santa Claus, so it
Right.
wasn't, but
Yeah.
I will never, ever forget that.
Yeah.
I will
Right.
never, ever forget that. And I will forever be grateful to that
So
woman.
that woman's legacy lives on in you.
Yeah.
Even if she never did it ever again for anybody else, which I'm sure is not true, because people like that just, are just, humans that
Yeah.
make a mark wherever they go. But
And as far as she knew, I
Yeah,
could have gone to the liquor store and just drank that $20, but it didn't matter
exactly.
to her. She was like, I can help and I'm
Right.
going to help. And what you do with
Right.
this is your business, and I don't ever forget what my life was like then
Yeah.
for many years after I got sober and I was alone and I was living, paycheck to paycheck, if that, financially just disastrous. And I never let that memory go far from me because I know that there are so many other women out there, especially
Yeah.
today, that
Mm-hmm.
really for $20 that would be everything to them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to do. That is what I'm going to do. I'm
Yeah.
going to be able to help women like that who in the grocery store, just pay for some groceries, whatever, like give them a break. We all need a break.
We all need a break. So that is your beloved statement,
Mm,
right?
yeah, that's my beloved statement.
That's your beloved statement.
Yeah,
I mean, you can live into that and
it just makes me really sad that it's so scary being in that position, and it makes me very, very sad that there's a lot of honest people trying to just feed their family, keep their lights on, keep their house from
yeah,
foreclosing, and they can't even get food. Um, so anyways, but I don't, like I said, I will never forget her and what she
right.
did. And you want to hear the other weird thing about that? This woman, a couple years later, invited a bunch of us to her condo for a Christmas party. That condo that she lived in was the one in Farmington Woods where me and my family lived. And I go, "Oh my God, you're 18 Sweetbriar Lane." And she's like, "Yeah." And I go, "We owned that condo. My parents bought that condo when it was brand new." And she goes, "What's with the soundproof room?" She says.
My brother
And
used to play drums.
yeah. And I said, "My brother was a drummer." And so they soundproofed the room for him so we didn't all have to hear him drumming. And I said it
Oh
was
my
nothing
God.
nefarious. Like we
That
weren't
is
being
the
tortured in
universe.
there. Yeah, I know. Isn't that
That is the
funny?
universe at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so the reason why that we're talking about all of this is we have a great guest coming
Hmm.
next week. So,
Yes.
you can either tee it up or you can, we can just drop that as a teaser and people will tune in next week
Yeah, her name is
for,
Laura Ellis, and she's a hypnotherapist, and she's got a great story, and she's going to talk a lot about what her near-death experience was like, and what that opened up for her, spiritually,
awesome.
physically, and emotionally. So yes,
That's
that's next
exciting.
week.
That's great.
Yes.
So, also, let's see, Debbie just launched a new website, deblawlessmiller.com,
Mm-hmm.
where you can find all her things, her book, our podcasts, information about her, the work she does, things like that. We also have
Mm.
an email account, rewind and reflect with us at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. That's actually how did Laura email you or
Yeah, she emailed me through the website.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, and please listen on YouTube. Debbie puts like a Buzzsprout um
You can't get my name right
link
today.
on. Well, to me you're Debbie.
I know, and I can be Debbie. It's fine. A lot of people call me Debbie. So it's fine. Just call me
To
Debbie.
me you're Debbie.
Hmm.
I can't help myself.
That's okay.
Um, Buzzsprout. So we are on
Hmm.
Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube. Please like the show, follow the show, share the show. We'd love to get some more followers. We're doing good, but there's always room for doing more.
Yes.
And next week, I'm looking forward to meeting Laura. I have not met
Yeah.
her. I don't know her story, so I will, along with our listeners, really kind of be listening for the first
Yeah.
time, which I'm so excited about.
Good. All right, everybody. Namaste. Have a great week.
Namaste. Have a great day, everybody. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.